As we continue, I hope everybody got some coffee and are ready to dig in for the afternoon sessions. I know it's going to be as stimulating as Nick was in getting us started on branding. As we continue in the next session, I want to introduce another member of our marketing team, Jessie Cohn. Jessie has been responsible for creating and delivering this afternoon's sessions, both of those. And I think it's only fitting that Jessie get the pleasure of introducing our guests and staying with you for the afternoon. So Jessie, why don't you take it away?
Thanks, Nikki. First, let me thank our workshop sponsors, Conduit and Concentra. Conduit delivers mission-critical services and solutions on behalf of businesses and governments, creating exceptional outcomes for its clients and the millions of people who count on them. Through people, process, and technology, Conduit solutions and services automate workflows, improve efficiencies, reduce costs, and enable revenue growth. It's why most Fortune 100 companies and over 500 government entities depend on Conduit every day to manage their essential interactions and move their operations forward. Next up, we have Concentra. So Concentra is a division of Select Medical, is a national healthcare company focused on improving the health of America's workforce, one patient at a time. Through its affiliated clinicians, the company provides occupational medicine, urgent care, physical therapy, and wellness services for more than 520 medical centers in 44 states. In addition to these medical center locations, Concentra serves employers by providing a broad range of health services and operating more than 140 on-site medical facilities. All right, it is my pleasure to start our next session called Tap into the Power of Video. It's my pleasure to introduce everyone to Julia Cruz. Julia is the founder and executive producer of Good Life Productions, an award-winning video production company based here in Somerville, Massachusetts. With clients ranging from Harvard University to Dunkin' Donuts to James Taylor, Julia and her talented team are always focused on the good in every story they tell. As a former television reporter and producer in New York and Boston, Julia brings a wealth of knowledge in video production, interviewing, writing, and marketing to every project. As a graduate of Syracuse University's, that is a mouthful. As a graduate of Syracuse University's Newhouse School of Communications, Julia manages the business along with her husband and director of photography, Neil Robert. When she's not running Good Life, Julia can be most often found running around with her 3-year-old son, Miles. Thank you so much, Julia, for being here. Please take it away.
Thank you so much, Jessie. Let me do my screen share. Here we go. It's a pleasure to be here today to introduce you all to the power of video. I am Julia Cruz, as Jessie said. More about me and Good Life in a moment. That's a picture of my husband, Neil. We were filming in Argentina, the Falkland Islands, with a bunch of penguins many years ago. So more about me and Good Life and what we do in a moment. But first, let me explain what I mean when I say the power of video. 1 billion hours. Now, what do you think that is? How long it feels like we've been stuck in this pandemic, maybe? How much time we all spend on Zoom these days, unfortunately? Close. Actually, it is the number of hours watched on YouTube every day. A video on YouTube every day. And depending on what day and what's going on in the world, it's often even more than that, 1 billion hours. According to a study by the social media marketing firm Hootsuite, 93% of internet users watch online videos. Facebook reports 8 billion videos a day. Snapchat, 10 billion videos a day. If you don't know what Snapchat is, it's the younger generation's version of Facebook, and now there's TikTok. I mean, videos are everywhere on the internet. LinkedIn, if you're talking about business coordinated videos, LinkedIn says its videos are shared 20 times more than any other content that gets shared on LinkedIn. Perhaps, you've watched a video. I bet every single person watching right now has watched a video at some point or another this week. Maybe it was the ad that came up on Facebook. Maybe you're catching up on The Crown, or maybe it was a clip your friend sent you of your cat or their cat playing the piano. This cat right here, Nora, she got 5,072,832 views for doing that. So it's there. Thank you, Nora. Video is on the internet. It's not going away. And frankly, we're all consuming more video on the internet than ever. But video is not just about engagement. I'm sorry, it's not just about entertainment. It's about engagement. The facts are videos increase engagement. A survey by the branding platform RenderForest found that 78% of people report more website traffic with video than without. 71% said video increased the average time that people were spending on their sites. And 69% say the video actually generated more leads, more money for their nonprofit, more engagement, more recruits to their business, whatever it was, the video was doing the job. And 54% actually credit video with an increase in their sales. So those are powerful statistics. And if you want to attract people to your product, your business, your cause, your nonprofit, your message, your piano playing cat, whatever it is, you should do it with an internet video. So now you're probably saying, that sounds great, but how do I make an internet video? Well, rest assured, I can help you here. I could tell you that you could hire a company like Good Life Productions to help you. When we started the business 16 years ago, that's how we looked. I don't look like that anymore. But it was just my husband, Neil, and I, and our Mac laptop and our Sony video camera. There were a few large production companies in the area. We're here outside of Boston, but not too many smaller boutique mom and pop type organizations like ours. Now, everyone with an iPhone is calling themselves a production studio and creating video content. Well, we've come a long way since then. We have a crew, we have all the fun equipment. We do all kinds of jobs all over the world. And what you get from a production company is experience and professional equipment. Our cameras are fancier, microphones, lots of lights, Mac computers up the wazoo, team of editors, videographers, animators, voice talent. We have the great fortune of working with people and organizations all over the world, including the aforementioned James Taylor. You might recognize our most celebrated client. He's singer-songwriter, American treasure, and we produce all of his social media content. So if you are on, follow him on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see a lot of the videos that we've created for James. He's not only an incredibly talented human being, he's also an incredibly kind and generous human being, great guy to work with. So really though, when it comes to hiring professionals, it's really the experience that's the differentiator. We know what works, we know the process, we've done thousands of interviews, and we know how to put people at ease on camera. We take the stress out of the process and make sure that our clients get the videos that they want, delivered on time, and doing the job that they're supposed to do. They're effective videos, so they're not spending their precious time and money for something that's not, going to be effective for them. So here's a little bit of what our Good Life products look like. So there you go. That's Good Life for you. We're very, very fortunate to have had a great run so far, 16 years in. And I'm glad I could share that one with you. The truth is, with experience and fancy equipment, the tools, comes cost. So the reality is, if you don't have a few $1,000s to spend on a 90-second video, you can do it yourself and create a pretty great video. And I am going to show you how. The most important piece of equipment that you carry, we all carry everywhere with us. That's our son, there's Miles. We carry this every day. I mean, I try not to put it down or I'll lose it. But this is an iPhone, and it has a fantastic camera and audio on it. They've continually upgraded this with every new iPhone. And even now it shoots in 4K, which is a technical term for enormous size. And the quality is incredible. And that is something that pretty much everyone has. And even if you don't use an iPhone, if you're an Android user or whatever, most of the smartphones these days really do have excellent camera quality and audio quality. I am an avowed Apple user. I will tell you that. So I will continually refer to Mac products, but I can tell you there are other products, the other cameras do work fine. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of, our fancy, expensive video cameras, but it does a lot. It does slow motion, it does time lapse. And honestly, there are many times when in a pinch, we're filming somewhere, our video camera's over there, and I see something great happening over here. I grab my phone and I film it, and we use it in our videos because it is that good and it just keeps getting better. The truth is, if you don't have an iPhone or you use an Android, it's not so much about that. It's how you use it that truly makes the difference. So first, the simple stuff, how to great footage with your smartphone. Clean the camera lens. If you don't know, it's that little spot right there. Use a soft cloth. Don't use a paper towel or anything that could possibly scratch the lens. A little bit of alcohol or just a little bit of water. You can use a tissue, but don't use a tissue that has any of that moisturizer on it, or it will just make the lens look fuzzy. Secondly, choose the right spot. That really does matter. We've all sort of learned it as we've had to set up our Zoom shots and make sure that people didn't just see the silhouette of us. But it's really, truly important. Don't put your subject in front of a window. If you're filming towards the window and their back is to the window, all you're going to see is a black space like they're in the witness protection program. Choose a spot with a visual background if you can. I chose this spot. Why? Because it shows some of our awards. There's what we call depth. We go all the way back into another room. It's a little more interesting to look at than just being up against a plain white wall or anything like that. So if you're trying to film for a Zoom shot, who cares? But if you're trying to film someone and you want to make them look good, then you definitely want a visual shot. Some depth is always nice. Something, bookcases are fine. Something that's visually appealing to the eye while not being distracting. Sometimes I found looking at people's Zoom shots, I'm looking at the books on their wall and not listening to what they're saying. Up next, light it right. Right now, I am fortunate that I have windows that are lighting me this way. And you can see me, I'm evenly lit on both sides. That's important. But if you don't have the ability to use natural light, you can grab a lamp, a table lamp, put it near where the camera is so the light is shining on you. There's also the ring light, which you may have heard about, which actually usually has a holder for your phone. And it's just a circular light. It's really it started mostly being used for photography, but now that people are sitting in front of their Zoom conferences all day long, that's something that you can get it on Amazon. It's less than $70 you can get it for. I think they're $40 versions and $70 versions. You can dim the light. It has a lot of features, and they make a big difference in terms of how your shot looks. Because if it's too dark, that's not going to be appealing to the viewer. If they can't see what they're supposed to be looking at, it's just going to be distracting for them. And then sound. Sound absolutely matters. If you can't hear what's being said, then the message won't be heard. It's not going to get across. And the viewer will frankly probably click off of your video because it doesn't sound great. So some tips in order to get the best sound: keep your subject, whoever is on camera, if it's yourself or if you're filming someone else, keep them close enough to the camera so that they can be heard, so that they don't have to yell, or so that it's not too quiet that no one can hear them at all. Avoid echoey rooms. Don't film in the bathroom unless you're trying to sing a music video, you want to make your sound a little echoey, but don't generally be in a room with a hard floor. And if you're in a room with a hard floor, put down a blanket or a towel, but try and use, something where there's a rug that will sort of cushion the sound so it just doesn't sound very echoey. And if you put something down on the floor, be sure to frame the shot so that you don't see the blanket on the floor. Just a little extra detail, because the details matter when you're filming videos. And lastly, hold your camera steady. That seems like a no-brainer, but often, the inclination is to hold the camera yourself. If you have the option, because these are also inexpensive, you can get these little phone tripod holders, and you can put it up on something. One important thing, a lot of times people, when they're filming, if you can see me, when they're on their Zoom shots, you'll see their Zoom is like this. So you're looking up their nose, which is really not very attractive. So put it up on something. I'm just using a box. That's all I have. And it keeps the camera at your eye level. So if you're using this kind of a stand, put it up somewhere so that the camera is at your eye level and not down low. But this will help to steady the camera. There are things you can do when you edit to make it less, to stabilize the footage. And some iPhones and smartphones do have a stabilizer on it. But in general, try and hold it steady. One tip, if you're trying to hold your camera steady, is to put your elbows in. I don't even know if you guys can see me. Can you see me on this? Okay, good. Put your elbows in close to you. Take a deep breath, and then start filming. That helps. If you're holding it out here, the chances are going to be that it's going to be a lot bumpier. There are a million little tips I could give you, but since I do video, let's show a video, because that's what I do. This is a little video that we put together at Good Life shortly after the pandemic started last March, because we found that a lot of people were using Zoom and not getting the best looking videos out of it. So we created this to help people film from their own devices. Here we go.
Hey friends, well, we've all been stuck in quarantine for a while now, and we've been noticing a lot more people using their phones to create video content. But in all honesty, not everybody knows how to use the camera on their device so well. Right, Mom?
Can you see me?
Some people like holding their cameras vertically. Some people like to hold them horizontally. It really doesn't matter. Whatever works best for you and your team. Here are some tips on how to make your videos look great. Jeremy?
Sure thing, Neil. First, avoid recording anyone with the bright light behind them unless you are purposely trying to conceal your identity. Instead, place sufficient lighting in front of the subject. There, that's better.
Try not to leave too much space above the head of the person that you're recording, or place distracting objects behind them. Instead, frame it so their head is just below the top of the frame.
If you don't have to film someone's whole body, it's best to cut them off just below the shoulders or just above the waist. Avoid amputating your subject from the knees down.
Always remember to hold your camera as steady as possible, or prop it up on something, roughly at eye level.
Check focus, exposure, and white balance by pressing and holding your finger on the subject on your smartphone screen. Make sure you wipe fingerprints and filth off the lens of your camera before recording with a scratch-free cloth. Otherwise, your images will look foggy. There, that's better. Make sure you have the camera close enough to you so you don't have to yell. Instead, get as close to the camera as you can so everyone can hear every word.
And try to avoid echoey rooms, unless, of course, that's the only place where you can get a little peace and quiet.
And always remember to smile. Even if you're having a crummy day and you have to force it, a smile will make you look better and sound better on camera. So keep smiling, stay healthy, and stay safe.
So watching that again, I realized how horrible Neil's hair looked there because I cut it during the quarantine. I am not a hairdresser and I will never do that again. He will never let me live that down. Anyhow, when it comes to making videos that people want to watch, because that's important. If nobody watches your video, it's not going to matter that you made it. So if you want to make a video that people want to watch, it is all about the details. First and foremost, video is a visual medium. You have to get the visuals right, or else it's not going to be effective. So it all starts with how your subject looks. People often ask us, what should I wear? And we recommend solid jewel tones. What do I mean by jewel tones? Think ruby red, sapphire blue, emerald green, turquoise. That is going to make you look brighter, more cheery on camera. Keeping it solid and simple, it just keeps people from being distracted by what you're wearing. Also, you want to avoid patterns, especially tight patterns like herringbone, that can actually vibrate a little bit on camera, and generally are just distracting. Text, graphics, those kinds of things, depending on the video. I have to always put that caveat there, because if you are a person who is known for wearing black, like Steve Jobs used to be, that's your thing, then you should roll with it. If you are someone who wears funky clothing and that's your thing, then that's what you should do. But generally, if it's for an interview type shot, if you're promoting your business and you want to just look professional, that's what we recommend. That makes all the difference. And then in terms of what you're wearing below your waist, more often than not, filming, especially for an interview, is from the waist up or the chest up, as Jeremy mentioned in our video. That being said, you still want to be comfortable with whatever you're wearing below your waist. And there are times when there is more than one camera angle you might be filming from, so you may actually see your legs. In that case, you definitely want to not wear pants that are too tight that might show a belly bulge, or a skirt that's too short that you may end up showing more than you want to show. But overall, just dress for comfort, keep it simple across the board, so that you're not dealing with any kind of wardrobe malfunctions. And we often, especially if you're not filming in your own home, if you're somewhere else, always bring two outfits, at least two tops, because we've had it happen. We show up to film someone and they say, I just ate lunch and I got mustard on my shirt. And that, if you don't have a backup and you can't run out to the store, we had to frame that person from like here up, and they looked like a floating head, and it wasn't very attractive. We're not Photoshop. People say, oh, you can just Photoshop it out. We can, you can do that, but with video, it takes longer and it will just simply cost our clients more. And then before you hit record on the camera, take one last good look at yourself in the mirror. Are there stains on your shirt? Even lint can be distracting. Make sure you bring a lint brush, get anything off there. Do you have food in your teeth? Did you smudge your lipstick? We do what the late night talk show hosts call the last look. Right before they walk out onto the stage, there is a big mirror and two people scanning everything to make sure they look just right. So you want to take that time before you hit record, because once you've filmed it, the only thing you can do is go back and film it again. So once you filmed it, if you don't notice it until you're working on the edit phase, you'll be a little frustrated. So avoid that by taking that last look. And the bottom line is too, if you don't look good on camera, you're not going to feel good on camera. And if you don't feel good on camera, you're not going to come across as well as if you look good and you feel good. It's all cyclical. So the best videos are not just talking heads. They're not just interviews. Interviews are usually where you get most of the content, but it's really a visual medium. So you have to keep people's eyes, your viewers, engaged. And the way to do that is B-roll. B-roll is the footage that accompanies whatever the person is talking about. So if you're talking about this event that's coming up and what a great time everyone had last year because the band was wonderful and there were all sorts of games for the kids, you should be showing that. Whether it's photos that you have from last year's event, or if you have video from last year's event, that is always helpful. As you have events, if you're trying to promote anything like that, always think about gathering as much content as you can so that next year you have something to work with as you promote it. It does literally make all the difference. If you're making a recruitment video and you're trying to get people to come to your organization or come to your business and work there, and you're talking about how collaborative of a place it is, then you should definitely show people in the office collaborating, smiling, having a good time. You can capture all of that with your iPhone, even if you have to do a mock setup and, you know, pretend that they're all having a good time. You can do that as well. It's always worth taking that time to gather that footage, because it will just elevate your video to the next level, and it will mean that more people will want to continue watching your video. A few little tips for that. For B-roll, hold your camera horizontally. I know a lot of the platforms do now allow for the vertical shot, but I'm a little bit old school. You can get more in the frame when you hold it horizontally, and it's how TV looks, it's how movies look, it's what people prefer to see, at least I prefer to see. Hold each shot for at least 5 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds, which might seem like an eternity when you're filming, but when you're editing, it just gives you more options. Don't feel like you have to follow the movement wherever the action goes. Keep your camera movement itself to a minimum. Just hold it still. Let the action happen within inside the frame. There are times, you know, if you're filming a sports event or something, you want to follow the ball, but you also should let the athletes run back and forth inside and outside of the frame, because it helps you when you're editing. And be an observer. That is to say, as soon as we show up with our big cameras, people are always looking, oh, wow, what are you filming? What are you doing? And then they stopped acting naturally. So kind of be that fly on the wall when you're filming, and kind of just hang in the background so that nobody even realizes that you're filming. Let things happen, then they'll happen more naturally, because the second that they see you, the first thing they're going to do is go, hi, because that's what they do. That's what everybody does. And then lastly, there are lots of little features like slow motion that can just make your video a little more interesting. Variety when you're putting together a video makes a difference. Show a photo, show some video, have a person talking on camera, and then maybe if you have something cool like, because I'm in the mentality of the mother of a 3-year-old, bubbles. You know, if you ever blow bubbles, you film bubbles in slow motion and they look so cool. So if you're filming a sports event, film some of it in slow motion. It does make a difference. It just gives a little variety and excitement for the viewer. Now, putting it all together. That happens in video editing. If you have a Mac computer, you have iMovie, which is a pretty great editing system for the average user, the average person. We initially, when we first started in 2005, we were editing on a Mac laptop on iMovie until we learned some of the more professional systems like Final Cut Pro, and now we edit on Adobe Premiere. But that to learn those systems takes a long time and a lot of practice. But there are lots of online options in terms of editing. If you don't have, truth is, most cameras now also offer an editing feature where you can do basic editing. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of a professional system, but it can help you to put a video together. So that is possible. Otherwise, you can also take all the footage that you've captured and contact a video production company and say, I have all this, I just need help editing it. This is what I have, this is what I want it to be, but I don't have the time because the editing process is a lot more involved. That's another option for you, is to bring the content to the producer. We have it happen all the time. It can save you a lot of money if you're working on a tight budget. Keep the video short. That is tip number 1. 2 minutes or less these days. Okay, when we started in 2005, our videos ran 5 to 7 minutes. Very shortly after that, we realized those were not, people don't have the attention span. So it's gone all the way down to really, most of the videos we do are 2 minutes or less. If it's super engaging or the people who are watching it are stuck watching it, they're at an event and they can't get up out of their seats, they have to watch it, you can go longer, but it really should be engaging, or they're going to leave there going, that was the most boring video and I had to sit through the whole thing. And that's really not the reaction you want. So 2 minutes or less, grab the viewer in the first 5 seconds. That means whatever is your most compelling statement, most compelling visual, even if it's the song that starts your video, that has to grab the viewer. Most videos, people will click off in the first 10 seconds. If they're not into it and they don't have to watch it, they're gone. So you have to give them the most compelling thing that's going to keep them watching in that first 5 seconds. And the punch in the gut. Emotions are really the key to engaging videos. Emotional inspiring, emotional that make you cry, emotions that make you laugh, emotions that enrage and anger you, whatever it might be, that's going to really help the video to stay with the person who's watching it. Just telling the information and talking about whatever it might be, that's all fine and dandy, but that's not really going to help them remember your video and think about your organization or come to work at your company or donate to your organization. It's really the emotions that make all the difference. And most importantly, tell the viewer what you want them to do. End your video with a call to action. Do you want them to donate? Do you want them to apply for a job? Do you want them to come to your event? Whatever it is, tell them what you want them to do so that when they finish the video, they know that's what I can do next. I can click on this link and go donate. I can click on this link and buy tickets or whatever it might be. End with that call to action so that people know what to do when the video is over. Some final thoughts. Preparation is key. Do the advance work before you ever turn on the camera. Think about what you want the end result to be from your video. Think about who the viewer of your video is. Who is your audience? Because if your audience is an older crowd, you're going to formulate your video and have your message different than if it's someone who's a teenager. So really think through those things. Make a plan in terms of if you're doing interviews, what are you going to ask the interviewee? What do you want them to talk about? So work all that stuff out. Think about where you're filming. Think about how you're filming and how many days or how much time it might take to film. Really have that plan. It's all about being prepared, and it will really help and make the process less stressful in the long run. And it'll make your final product the very best thing it can be. Be patient, because it is a process and good videos take time. We always tell our clients it's a standard video for us. It's about a 6 to 8 week process. That's for the planning phase, the pre-production, the filming phase, which is production, and the editing phase, which is post-production. So from the time that we start figuring out who the viewer is, what the message is, what they want to be, to filming and editing, it can take 6 to 8 weeks. It can take months, depending on the client and how long it takes them to figure out what they want and make the plan and coordinate everything. So you just have to be patient. And sometimes, you go and you film and it really didn't turn out the way that you'd hoped, or, it got rainy or things happen and you have to go reshoot. So the reality is, if you want a great video, you got to do what it takes to get there. So sometimes you just have to be patient. It's just the way production goes. Most importantly, have fun. This is video production. It's not brain surgery. We're making movies, and movies should be fun overall, regardless of what the topic is. And the reality is too, if no one on the set is having fun, no one who's filming is having fun, the person who's being interviewed isn't having fun, you're not going to end up with a great result. Even if it's a serious topic, you want people to be relaxed, to enjoy the process, and that's how you get the best out of everyone who's in your crew, or who's the talent, or who's the person being interviewed. Keep it light and lively. You can still be serious about making a video and have a seriously good time. So that is my presentation. I thank you all so much for listening, and I am very happy to answer any questions. You can always reach me, julia@goodlifeproductions.net, our website, goodlifeproductions.net. And I know Linda was going to share a few links for you as well. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I have a few.
Great.
I actually have a few myself. We've had a few come in over the chat too, so I'm going to dive right in. And I love your comment about the COVID haircut. I gave one of those myself, and he will never, ever allow me to do it again.
It was the worst. He was so, we watched it last night and he's so unhappy with me.
It happens. All right. So, and I'm telling you right now, I've got 2 screens. So I got my laundry list of questions over here. So if I keep looking. All right. So the first one I have comes down to platform. And so knowing kids chance organizations, we do a lot on social media, but one of the questions about video that can be difficult is where do you put it? Because you can't just put the video on the website. There needs to be, something that it lives in so you can play it. So the question comes from YouTube versus Vimeo versus Facebook versus the Instagram versus 800 other things that have cropped up recently. Can you shed a little bit of light and just dissect this for us? Where's a good place to put it?
Sure.
Some insight there would be awesome.
So in terms of platform, there are so many platforms, like you said. And so we say multi-platform. So put it on your Facebook page, put it on your Instagram page, put it on LinkedIn. Vimeo versus YouTube, I put it on both. But overall, you make sure you put it on YouTube because that is the largest platform. That also, depending on what your use is, that also ups your search engine optimization, which means the more videos you have on your YouTube page, the more it circles back in terms of your website. Mm-hmm. And if you're doing an embed, which means you're basically taking the YouTube link and embedding it into your own website, go YouTube. I personally prefer the Vimeo viewer. I think it's better. It's more user-friendly a little bit than YouTube, but YouTube is so enormous, you just can't ignore it. I am not very experienced with TikTok or Snapchat, so I can't really speak to that. I'm just getting too old to do all these things. But I will say multifaceted, put it across the platforms. And you will find a huge difference in people finding it. You'll get more views.
You talked about length of video, but when it comes to like a well-produced video versus something a little bit more spontaneous, like we saw the student spotlight earlier. I don't know if you were on earlier today, that was about 1.5 minutes, give or take. It was a well-produced, interviewed, conversation versus finding somebody on the street going, oh, let me shoot that. And, let me talk to you. Is there a general length that you would recommend for one versus the other? Or is there a standard rule across the board?
I mean, standard rule, 90 seconds is a perfect length for anything. You obviously can go shorter, you're more likely to get a lot of hits if it's a quick 30-second video and someone can sit through it. I find when I watch videos online, I can get through about a minute, and then, depending on how good the video is, I may continue to watch if it's compelling. If it's not, I'm probably onto something else because, we're all busy. But what I do say in terms of longer videos, if it's well done, if it's engaging and it's visually engaging and the message is there and it's compelling, you can go longer. Our clients say, well, we only want to do a 2-minute video. And then I write the script and send it to them, and then they add all this stuff in. And next thing you know, I have a 4 to 5 minute video. And I say to them, it's not going to be as effective if we keep it this long. So let's try and pare it down. And we might only get it to 3.5 or even 4 minutes. But if we can keep it compelling, and by that, I mean variety. So it's not just someone talking on camera, blah, blah, blah. It's great looking video. It's incorporating graphics if they're talking about something that you can put a graphic with an arrow that's moving, and keeping the eyes and the ears engaged. Good music. If you don't put music on a video, it's going to be a lot harder for someone to sit through it. If you've ever watched, there are various movies. I always think about The Shining. The opening scene to the movie The Shining, he's just driving up a hill. That's all. He's driving up the mountain. And so if you turn the sound off, it just looks like someone driving up the mountain. You turn that sound on, and now it's this really creepy music that just makes you think, where is he going? So those elements, all of those elements, the music, what's being said, and what the visuals are the things that can make a longer video still effective. And like I said, if you have a captive audience who can't go anywhere, just try not to leave them hating the fact that you sat them through a long video. I remember at a family event, a video that was I don't know, it was probably 25 minutes long. And I thought, why did they put us through this? And why didn't they call me to produce it? So just keep that in mind. You don't want to upset your audience.
It's like the music at the beginning of The Exorcist with the door.
Yeah.
But like, not to go horror movie, but all right, let's come back for a minute. So we've talked a little bit about, we've talked about length a little bit. We've talked about your, self-produced video versus professionally produced, but I don't think we've answered the question of like, when does it make sense to not do it yourself? We've talked about using our phones and, that's what a lot of people are doing, especially with COVID. When would you recommend somebody think about going professional and saying, okay, it's really worth the money. Let's call somebody like you?
Well, I think the number one thing to think about is, what is your brand? Who are you trying to attract? One time years ago, we had a professional chef from a high-end restaurant who wanted us to do videos for her and didn't want to pay us to do it. She really wanted to do it, but she didn't want to put the money into it. And, we told her what it was going to cost. And so she went and had, her sous chef film her, and it just looked terrible. And it was so against her brand. Her brand was high-end. And her video was very budget. And, it's not to say you can't shoot, something that's kind of a cute, quirky, at-home thing with your chef. But if you're really trying to promote something that especially if you're asking people to spend a lot of money on, you want your video to be equal to that. It's very similar to branding. You want your brand to be equal to what you are.
Yeah.
So, if you want that kind of service, if you don't have time, the editing process, which I really didn't go too deep on it because it's a whole nother thing. That's the part that can really, really frustrate the average video maker, because it takes time and you have to learn the system that you're editing on. And even with the click and drag of an iMovie, there's still that. We've had people do them before and then say, I can't get it out of the computer. How do I get it out? So in those instances, if you don't have the time and you don't want to drive yourself crazy and be really stressed out about it, that's the time to call a professional. And then obviously, if you can get someone to sponsor your video and they'll help make that investment, then it's certainly worth it. And I often tell our clients, this is an investment and you have to think about it not just as this one video. We're coming to your office or your organization and we're filming all this footage and we're interviewing, your staff or whatever, your clients with testimonials. You're not going to fit all the stuff that we film into 1 3-minute video. You'll have all sorts of other stuff that either you can take a little clip and just post, one little sound bite or a 1-minute piece on your Facebook page and you can put it on Instagram. There are other things. You can capture pictures from your video. So it is an investment that you're making when you do hire a professional to come out so that you have video that lasts over time. And then even that you can come back, use old footage. During the pandemic, we couldn't film in person for a long time. And so a lot of our clients who had been past clients basically used their old footage. We've been gathering footage every year for years as we've worked with them. So we used the footage we had to create the new videos. And that really made all the difference between that and using stock images and some graphics. We were able to give them products without having to come out and film. And now we do a lot of filming remotely, not so much on Zoom anymore, but that's how we do. I just did one this morning. And that's how we do a lot of what we're doing right now until we can film in person again.
We had a good question about music. So I want to go back to that for a quick minute. And it actually leads me to a larger question, licensing when it comes to music in particular. Do you have any tips or tricks using songs? I know we've even, as you've been watching in today's, we've been putting messaging around making sure with recordings and how you use that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But specifically around music, do you have any tips? Like, how do we find out how to license, royalty free versus paid versus, other versions?
Right. Because there are a lot of public domain songs that you don't have to pay for. Those are songs that are out there and you don't have to pay for them. And there's royalty free. There are a lot of companies that sell royalty free music and it's kind of bad. So some of it is.
Can you give us a good place to go to find good music?
I can research and let you know. I don't work throw something out there off the top.
I know, I'm
We
asking
have
hard
a huge
questions.
music library that we license that has, thousands and thousands of tracks of all styles. And so we can offer that to our clients. But generally we tell people to stay away from popular music, because especially now on YouTube, they just won't play it. They won't use your video because they'll flag it. But really, truly, it's public domain. That's your best case. I know with some of the platforms like iMovie, there are some, kind of generic tracks that they'll include in that. But overall, I mean, there are companies that you can just license one song. We use Megatracks. So you can go to megatracks.com, put in a few keywords about what kind of music you're looking for, come up with a bunch of options, and then you can contact them and say, how much would it be to license this one song?
Great.
Yeah, so that is always an option. Generally, everything that we license is good for everything from DVD and web, but you couldn't use it for broadcast. So even for our things, if we're doing a commercial for someone that's going to air on television, we still have to license that song.
Good. Yeah, the one I've used to pay for audio is a Pond5, POND, the number 5.com. So just to throw them out there. All right, I've got a couple more. You ready?
Sure.
How do you get people to relax on camera? I know we talked about clothes, we talked about length, we talked about lighting, and just for the record, I have a ring light so you can see the light here as people are watching.
Yeah.
That's a hard one, getting people to relax on camera, as they get nervous when that little red light goes on. Got any tips there?
Sure. The first thing, and I've interviewed so many people over the years, and I know you do. I get nervous. My heart was pounding before this started. I haven't done a live presentation like this in so long. So, the number one thing that I like to do, besides smiling and making them feel comfortable by telling them, it's just a conversation. Think of it as we're having a conversation. We're just talking about, your company. Your company better than anyone. So, just pretend like it's you and me, and we're sitting at a table having a drink, and I'm just curious about, what are you doing? Also, I like to front load questions with a few toss-offs that are, that I know I'm probably not going to get the best answer because the person's kind of, getting their wiggles out and, getting the nerves out. So I always try to do a few of those and then save the more important questions for like the third or fourth question, so that they've kind of gotten into the rhythm of it a little bit more.
They forget the red lights on in front of you.
And there are cameras, there are ways, fortunately the iPhones, you don't see any kind of red light. But if it's a video camera, there are a lot of them now allow you to turn that light off, so that it makes people nervous.
Totally.
Sure. I get nervous. I don't like Zoom because I get nervous looking at myself. I've been wondering when Zoom is going to come up with a thing where I don't have to see myself. You guys can see me, but I don't, because
certainly
I don't want to. But also just speaking with the person, a little bit before, just kind of before the camera ever rolls. Or sometimes what we do is we actually start rolling the camera and just having the conversation, so they don't even realize that the camera's rolling and they're being recorded, and it's nothing we're ever going to use, but then they can't really differentiate from when the interview started or not, because they thought we were just talking. So that's a big part of it. Before I start every interview, I always say to people, we're filming this. You can hide yourself, Linda? Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna have to check that one out. I always tell people, this is being recorded. We're going to edit it. So if it doesn't come out the way that you want it to the first time, we can do it again. There's nothing to be nervous about. We're just having a conversation. I also recommend to people that when they're being interviewed, that they incorporate the question in their answer. We provide a sheet every time before we start an interview that gives these kind of little tips. And one of them is, so if I say, what's your favorite part about working here? And don't just say
the favorite part about working here is.
Exactly. And that helps in terms of editing. It puts the whole piece in context instead of it just being the people. And just to remember that, we're not live. When you do live interviews or something like that, that's a different story. Whatever you say is out there and you can't take it back. But when you're editing, we always reassure them that that we're good life, not real life. So we're always going to make you look good and sound good. It's not about, making you, we're not 60 Minutes. I'm not, trying to give you the gotchas. We just want to get the very best representation of you and your organization. So it's just about taking that deep breath, taking a moment. If the person is a little nervous, taking that moment, stopping the camera, letting them have a sip of water. I often will tell people, you know what, stand up, shake it out, let it loose. We try not to, we never have a tense group, our crew that's in there, everybody, we keep it, like I said, light and lively, because then you will be able to just relax and they will relax. The more relaxed the interviewer is, the more relaxed the interviewee will be.
All right, I have one more. And I know this one is a good one. So because it's a nonprofit organization, we have a lot of volunteers who are involved. How do you handle volunteer submitted videos that may not be up to the organization's standards? Do you have thoughts or feedback, or what do you do?
Well, one thing I could recommend is providing volunteers with some standards or some tips so that they can provide better videos, things like telling them hold it horizontally, not vertically. It's always nice to get those things from people, but at the same time, right, you want to be sensitive to the fact that they're trying to help. But definitely giving them some tips on how to create a good video could definitely help. And sometimes you can incorporate parts of their video. You can say, thank you so much for this. I don't know that we can use the whole thing, but we love the footage that you shot of the event, and we'd love to do that. And we can give you credit, in the credits, or put a little credit on the video to show your appreciation for that. But in general, I would say helping your volunteers to film good video is the best way to do that.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, because you also, right, you want to have some control over what the messaging is. So you don't want your volunteers to just be randomly posting things that maybe don't represent your organization very well.
Or even, the format tip, pick one. So,
yeah, exactly.
Well, this was a terrific session, Julia. Thank you so much. Some great tips in here. I know we'll be seeing a lot more of Kids Chance video as a result of your talk, which is great.
I hope so. And I do hope anyone who needs to can reach out to me at any point. I'd love to help out.
Awesome. Well, and I also thank you. I want to thank Conduit and Concentra for making this session possible as our sponsors and our conference sponsors. So just a note for everybody listening, we're going to take a quick break. So, and we'll be back at 2 p.m. for our newsletter sessions right on the dot. So thank you so much.
Thank you.